G'day. So here's the thing about aquaponics. You design it so that you've got little maintenance to do, but there's always going to be some maintenance. It's a living animal. You're always going to have to get your hands dirty and wet. So that's what I've just been doing. I've been using my aquaculture net. Now, look, I've had this for a long time, but what you'll notice is there's no knots in this net. It's not a fishing net. Okay? And what that means, if you've got knots in there, then your fish, the scales on your fish can get caught in the knots very easily. It can damage the fish's skin. We don't want that. Okay? We don't really want it in the wild either, but within your aquaponics system, you want to get a net that doesn't have knots in it. So I've been using my net and I've been pulling up the fish, just doing a bit of a welfare check and making sure that they're all okay. And in doing so, I've ended up absolutely drenched. Gotta love that. And that's what happens though. So, because they're wearing a Rakiol t-shirt, because I was cleaning out the solid separator and I wanted to check on the fish, and I've just been going through and doing some of my checks. Okay? It happens. It's something you do need to do weekly and monthly. There's different checks that you need to do, and there's some that you need to do daily. You need to make sure there's aeration, you need to make sure the water's going, you need to feed your fish, you're doing checks for pests as you're going, and you need to make sure everything's okay and running. There's no leaks anywhere. All these sorts of things. But you do that as you're doing things. So as I'm feeding the fish, I am looking over here. Is there any bugs I can see? Any pests I can see? Is there any water anywhere that shouldn't be? Is the pump working? Can I hear the pumps? And hopefully you don't have a loud pump. I can slightly hear my air pump. And the pump itself is actually by the door, and I can't hear it inside. I can only hear it when I come outside, and even then it's quite low. I cannot hear my water pumps, but what I can hear is the water flowing into the sump. And they're the things that every system is different. So you get used to that. You get used to what your system sounds like, what it feels like, and that's the flow. You get used to your own flow of things. So I know that every week there are some things I need to do, and that's the flow of my system. That's how it's working. It's awesome. And personally, I love cleaning aquariums, okay? I know I'm a little bit weird on that front. I love doing it, so that's why I have my old, clean clothes. But I love doing it. It's another reason I have so many tanks inside. We need to remove the solid waste from the system, so you need to plan to do that. You need to have all of the right equipment. I'm going, where is my vacuum unit? Oh, it's over there. You need to have all the things, have it all ready to go, and have your plan. Just like if you're going to get up and go for a walk in the morning, or a run, or you do your yoga, you have everything set up and ready to go. When it's time to do your system maintenance, you have everything ready to go. And when you do your maintenance, you don't have to do it again until the next week or the next month or whenever it is your system needs doing. But you're in the flow of that. You're used to that, and that's how you know that things are going to work. If your system needs attention every day, look at your design. As in, if you need to remove solids every day, look at your design. Okay? If you're needing to do more than feeding everything every day, look at your design and work out what can I do to make this simpler. That's one of the reasons I don't have a kit for people. There are so many ways of doing aquaponics, and there are so many different branches these days. And it's awesome. If people are using their imagination, which is fantastic. It's an ecosystem, so there's some fundamentals, and outside of that, you build your own system catered to what you need. That's not what I need. I know what I need. You need to focus on what you need for your system, how your system works. And when you get into the flow of it, you'll find that everything in your life around aquaponics will stay in that flow. I know, I'm getting a little bit metaphysical here because I'm talking about going with the flow. Aquaponics is awesome being able to help you to do that. If you really look at how it's helping, and you look at that within your life, it can really help with that. So I'm going to get off my philosophical bandwagon there. We're doing great. Just done the clean, the maintenance, so I'm going to go and have a shower. Because, even I get too much smelly stuff and I want to go. So that water and the solid waste that I've taken out, it's in a drum at the moment. And I'm going to put it into my worm farm, which I'll then be able to use some of those worm castings in my aquaponic system once it's mineralised. So once it's got all of the good minerals out of it, it's perfect just for that extra, the calcium and the phosphates, and my mind has gone blank on all the other things that plants actually need. So we're using every part of our system, just not always in our aquaponic system. I gotta go. I'm starting to really smell yuck. So I come out to do checks in the morning, This is just my little barrel aquaponics system. I can see that there's no leaks, as in there's no water around anywhere. And forgive the mess. But I can do that just by having a quick look. I can hear that the water is running. You should be able to hear that too. So I know the pump's okay. And I can see in there, see if this, how my fish are. And I've got the perspex here that needs to be cleaned, but yes, I can see that my fishies are okay. And I can also see that my water is pumping in. This is my this is my constant flow side, and this is the flood and drain. I'll be able to hear when the flood and drain kicks in, but I can see that this is at the normal water level, and I can also see I've got water flowing in to the grow beds on either side. And yes, this is the flood and drain part. And just as a final thing, I can already hear that it's working, but this is the solids filter that I've got happening here, and I can see that it's working. So for this tiny little barrel aquaponics system, I can see that everything is working as it needs to be working. So that is the checks that I need to do on such a small system. I can hear it. It smells great. Okay, well there's no smell, but if I touch the coriander there will be. This is only a new little system, but that's as simple as it needs to be, and as hard as it needs to be, really, on just checking everything to make sure everything's running okay. So walking out into my larger aquaponic system, I'm in the hothouse at the moment, so we're doing the checks. Now I could hear that the air pump was working as I walked in. I can hear the water itself is running in here. I can also see the bubbling under there, which is showing me my air pump is working. Everything smells fine. And I'm looking around, is there any water where there shouldn't be? So I'm looking at all of the weakest areas of my system, which for me is underneath here, because this is an aquaculture tank, and I've got fittings under here. So I'm looking, is there anything leaking, any water dropping? And this is apple cider vinegar that I'm spraying just on the ground, helping to keep the rats away because they've discovered my aquaponic system. And then I've got to go through and still check to see if there's any bugs in there. But now that we're up, I'm taking the rocks off. It's very cold here, and I am also checking. I've got an air stone in there that you can see bubbling slightly, and my fishies are all looking good and happy. This is simply a morning check to make sure everyone is okay, and I'll be feeding them a bit later on. It's a bit too cold to feed them now, so at the moment the water temperature is 11 degrees, so that's too cold for them to eat, but it'll get up to around 16 degrees later, so I shall feed them then. So this is a daily check that I do every day, and I do it when I'm coming out to feed the fish, pretty much. There are other checks that I could be doing, but I do them on a weekly or monthly basis. So for instance, my solid separator here, this is something I need to clean it out, so I don't actually check it, I just simply clean it every week. I clean my sump, as in I clean for any excess waste that might have popped in there. So they're things that I do on a weekly basis. I check my water quality every week. So that's my iron, ammonia, nitrate and pH. And I adjust the pH if needed. And then I have my monthly checks, which involve turning the power off, making sure that my backup system runs. I charge my battery and I test my generator. So these are the different checks that I do to ensure that both my veggies and my fish are doing well. So I'm using all of my senses when I walk in here, and in fact when I open the door outside I can hear that my water is moving, I can hear that my air pump is moving, and as I've just walked in here I can see there's no leaks anywhere. I know what to be looking for. Yes, I have a little rat trap. It's a live catch trap because I've been catching some mice in here and removing them. I just haven't put it back in the garage. So yeah, these are the daily checks, and everything smells really great. There's no fishy smell, there's no saltwater smell, nothing like that. And that's the difference between your freshwater aquaponics system and, say, fishing in the wild. You know, there you go. That is as hard as it can be. When you're coming out to feed your fish, use your senses.